One more week, and we will be into the holiday seasons officially. Although we're already seeing Christmas songs, Christmas TV shows, the whole 9 yards. Where did Thanksgiving go? And it's only right now Sunday night as I record this, and it's not even Thanksgiving yet. Anyway, let's get started and talk about what happened in the last full week before the holiday season begins. Hey there, it's Les Solgrove, Simply Des Moines, and we're talking, like we always do every week, about the Des Moines and Central Iowa real estate market. Lots of things have been happening the last several weeks. We are at week 46, and I think we're on track to finish the year well. This week's topic is managing those expectations for the year end. And so I'm going to look at weekly graphics this week that kind of talk about what's happened in the real estate market up to this date. And from that, maybe we can formulate some expectations as to where we're going to head. So let's jump right in here. This is week 46 dashboard. Now, a couple of things that are of importance here that I want you really to focus on. Number one is the number of homes for sale in existing homes and new home sales are basically coming back together. There for a long time this past year, in fact, the last couple of years, we've had much more inventory on the market in the new home sales side than we had in existing homes. We're currently have been for the last several weeks above the new construction counts, but that number is kind of coming back together, and we are just short of new construction homes being ahead of the existing homes inventory. So that's something to watch out for. I mean, this pie chart right here just shows you that we're neck and neck, 41 and 42%. The other number on the flip side of this concerning the new construction home is there's only 344 homes currently under contract with that same number that we have for existing homes. We have 62% under contract in the existing homes. So if we're going to push anything through the end of the year, it's going to be the existing home sales and the new condo home, the existing condo townhome sales are what's going to push us through to hit our 16,000 closed sales that I'm predicting. We'll talk a little bit more about that. Just remember that that 20% there, the new homes on the market there. We did have a milestone this week. We did hit that 14,000 closed sales. Again, on the way to 16,000 is the projection. It took 28 days this time around. You can see that according to the bar chart here, it's just taking a little bit longer every 1,000 closed sales to hit that. This time it took us almost a full month to hit that. One thing I want to point out, this is a little different way of looking at 2022 to hit from 13 to 14,000 took 28 days. But look at that, we're coming close to being back to what I would consider normal back in 2017, 18, and 19. Now again, the reason why you don't see any stats before 2016 is because 2016 and prior we didn't even hit 14,000 closed sales. So we're doing well. We're going to continue to hit, I think, these higher sales as we move forward. If the market were to drop off, we would see this drop considerably. But right now, 2017 on is where we hit our 14,000 closed sales. Topic this week, as I mentioned, we're going to try to manage some of this year-end expectations. And when you look at graphics, sometimes you want to project forward and you think things are just going to continue to move, but actually the real estate market, like anything, is very cyclical. We've talked about that before. Different times of the year goes up and down, and so we just need to manage that expectation. Just because maybe we're exceeding in one spot or maybe another spot is going downward doesn't mean it's going to continue in that same path. Case in point here is the weekly national mortgage rate for a 30-year fixed rate mortgage. The Fed has been, not the Fed, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac have been producing this report every week since 1972, I think it was. But you see from this year forward here, we've had a couple of rocky weeks here. We were above 7% for two different time periods there. coincidentally, that was right around the election. So this past week, rates did drop slightly. Nationally, they're down to 6.61. I know that locally, there's a lot of mortgage lenders out there saying you can get a 6% interest rate mortgage or below. And that's true. This is national numbers, and they tend to trail just a little bit. So don't knock on my door and say I'm wrong. This is what the national says. But again, your buying power as of this past week, according to that 6.61%, is 187,700 for that typical $1,200 monthly principal and interest only payment. So this plays a part, I think, into where we're heading as we move into the end of the year. So we're going to look at basically the weekly recap here of different categories in our real estate market. The black line on these are typically, and not always the case, I'll point those out, but typically the black line is 2021. So it gives you an idea of where the market typically goes. This is weekly new listings, the number of homes coming on the market. What's amazing about this and what's important to understand is that our weekly new listing count is pretty much right on track with last year, yet our inventory is growing. And you go, how's that possible if we're not adding more inventory? Well, your inventory grows either because you're adding more and more and more listings, or they're just not selling as fast. And that's what's really happening, is our market is slowing to the point where we're not doubling our inventory by any means, but we're bringing on homes at about that same pace. It's just they're not selling as fast, and therefore the inventory is starting to build. The dip you see, and you'll see this same dip as we go across many of the stats today, that's going to follow next week, is obviously the Thanksgiving holiday weekend. So Thanksgiving weekend, we typically see a drop in open house traffic, listing counts, pending counts, etc. So just be prepared. You'll see that dip there. But this past week, we actually had a few more listings, even though come on the market this past week than we have in previous weeks. In fact, it was all the way back into, I think, the fourth week of October that we actually had this same period where we had more listings come on than a year ago. Don't expect this to continue. I think we're just going to be kind of in this slowing market as we move into the end of the year, which is very, very typical. The weekly canceled listings. I like to show this one. I don't show this one very often, but this is the count of the sellers that said basically, hey, we're done, we're taking the home off the market. And that large spike you see about the third week of October kind of coincided with the change of season. It was the week that weather started to kind of change a little bit. And it's very typical this year to see outside influences kind of taking effect to the real estate market. A year ago, we didn't really see any effects of fall, but this year we've seen that. We're seeing more and more homes come off the market. Sellers are basically giving up sooner than they had in the past. This past week was our second highest number of homes coming off the market, with 76 homes listings being canceled. Now, obviously, some of those are going to come back on the market. Maybe they were just changing companies, or maybe they're listing. Well, they didn't expire because that was canceled, but maybe they're changing listing brokerages. The good news is our back on market trending is back to a normal pace here of around that 20-21%, where we like to see it. Obviously, we'd like to see that at zero, but that's just not the reality. But we also don't like to see it almost pushing 50% like it was 2 weeks ago. So the good news is back on market is kind of back on track. Open house traffic. I like the old slogan. What was old is new again. 2021, we had very few open houses throughout the year just because inventory was selling much, much faster. You add the high mortgage interest rate hikes that we've had all year this year, and it's just natural we've begun to see open house traffic rise. In fact, this past week we had 1,062. So I'm going to divert for a second off of our versus last year graphic, and we're going to look at the same graphic here with a red overlay. This red overlay is the number of new homes being held open. So we still have that 1,062 at the top there, but anything above the red line that you see, that is the number of homes that were existing homes that were being held open. So to break that down, 873 new construction homes this past week were held open. Of that 1,062, only 189 were existing homes. So we're still not seeing a large number of of existing homes being held open each week. I know that I've had a couple conversations with agents this week going, is open house traffic looking good for the end of the year? Well, let's go back real quick here. You can see that typically it trails off as we get into December here. And that's going to happen. I mean, obviously the holidays are going to come into play. But I agree with this agent that we're going to see a little bit higher inventory or higher open house counts as we move into the end of the year, even with the holidays. Weekly price reductions. This is kind of a fun one to look at. I've done a couple overlays on this one. You can see, but predominantly we've had price reductions all year long. You have to go all the way back to the third or fourth week of March before we see a week where we had fewer price reductions. So really from April on, we have seen every single week has had has had price reductions outpacing 2021, and I really expect that to continue throughout the end of the year as home sellers finally understand that the market is changing, that mortgage interest rates are affecting home buyers' ability to buy and things like that. So weekly price increases. I really dolled this one up in a second, you'll see. But this is the number of homes that basically have had price increases week by week. And the little yellow stars here show that there's only been 5 weeks in 2022 where we've actually had more price increases than the previous year. So in this case, more increases means that we were back to kind of last year's numbers. And you can see that 4 out of the 5 were actually happened before the first week of April. So we really have only seen 1 week since late March that we've had 1 week where we've had more price increases, and that was likely a builder making a price change. Only 2 weeks in there just because there's a couple that were tied. So really 7 out of the 46 weeks this past year have all seen fewer and fewer price increases. So that's good for home buyers out there that are looking. You're not being chased out of the market by pricing and mortgage interest rates. So that's at least helping you out a little bit there. The weekly pending count, again, this is the number of homes that are currently in sale pending status each week, and you can see that we are just underperforming 2021 pretty much all the way across the board. That second week in June was really the only outlier that happened right in the heat of the summer market. It must have been some really nice buyer activity that week, but you have to go all the way back to February before we are really a couple more weeks above last year. So predominantly the entire year this year we've been behind sale pendings, and again as we move into the fall, we're not going to crash. It's just the whole idea here is this is not a crash of the market. It's just a slowdown. This is just very typical. It's measured. It's within the tolerances, I believe, of what we've seen in the last year. So if the wheels were falling off the cart, these numbers would be much lower compared to last year, and we're not seeing that. On the same side, closed sales, they are also softening, but they're not plummeting. In fact, if you kind of look, we're not really too far off of 2021 weekly closed sales. We've really kind of slowed down a lot since September, but prior to that, we were outpacing 2022 a little bit, and then throughout the summer months kind of equaling it. And now as we move into fall, things have slowed down. I still have the hope here. The goal, the projection is that we will hit 16,000 closed sales. So as of today, November 20th, it's a Sunday, we're currently sitting at 14,205. So we need, about 1,800 more closed sales to happen before the end of the year. And I looked here, I moved my head here. I guess it's a little bit low graphic. In November 15th of 2021, so the 15th, why I'm using that number, is the date that we broke into that 14,000 closed sales. So at November 15th through the 31st of December of last year, we closed 2,185 homes. And as of the 15th, again, of 2022, we were at 14,031, which means, again, move that big head, which means that in fact, let me just take my head out completely. We need to close about 1,969 closings from the 15th moving forward. And again, like I say, we're at 14,205, so we're only about 1,800 away from doing that. It's possible. It's within reach. It's going to be close. I'm just relying a lot on the existing home sales to kind of pick that up. So, in any case, that's the show this week. All the graphics you see each week are at DesMoinesMarketValues.com, as well as links to previous YouTube videos. Please share this with your friends. Please share these with your clients. I'm a non-competing realtor now, so you are welcome to use these. Still do not change the marketing if you're a realtor using this, but don't change any of the attributions, obviously, but feel free to use this information. This is great for talking points to kind of help people get through the next few weeks as we move into 2023. And with that, be sure and hit the like button and subscribe, and we'll see you all again next week. I will look a little sleepier because I'll be still under the effects of the tricky tryptophan. Talk to you later. Thanks for joining me.